Hey, so I just got done filming the video and I don't know what the hell happened, but the audio I recorded on this thing was totally screwed, not usable. So I apologise. It's going to be phone audio for the majority of the video. I'm so sorry. Sometimes this stuff happens. Make sure you double check everything before you start recording. God damn. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed the video regardless. Hello, and welcome to Full Album Fridays, the segment in which the pop filter takes up 70% of the frame, and also the segment in which I sit in front of my computer and describe what I've been listening to for the month.
It's been a whole damn month, and I've lots of tunes to share. With that I'm implying there's anyone who cares. So come on down over my way. Tune into Full Album Fridays.
Because I'm a pretentious loser with an excess of free time, I often tend to listen to full albums and thought it'd be fun to sort of compile and document what I've been listening to and to share my opinions on them. That is, assuming that sharing opinions on the internet is still permissible. Please. Regularity and consistency are somewhat two features that are totally absent from my life, so I also see this as kind of a practice method for acquiring those two skills, if you will, and it remains to be seen if I'll make one next month or not. We'll see what happens. I've downgraded the pop filter to the side character. Now it only takes up 60% of the screen instead of 70. So before I begin, I'm going to lay down some rules for the format just because, you know, first episode, you know how this stuff is. I'm going to be compiling the albums that I've listened to on a month-by-month basis. This will also include albums that I'm listening to for the first time and albums that I'm listening to for a repeated listen but haven't documented it before on this, if that makes sense. So for example, if I were to say Master of Puppets, for example, just an example, it's an album that I have heard before, but because I haven't talked about it on video, it'll be featured. To the best of my ability now, I'm going to attempt to only feature an album once, and hopefully not talk about it again. I hate reposts as much as everyone else, but of course, I am one person. I'm very likely to make mistakes and talk about the same album multiple times, so forgive me if I do that. Anyway, I started compiling the May list, which I'm about to throw at you, on May 18th, which is more than halfway through the month, and it's currently June 7th, which is almost halfway through the month, so going really well so far. Let's begin. The first album I listened to on the list is actually Suffocation's 2009 album, Blood Oath. This is great, honestly. I kind of weave in and out of wanting to listen to death metal. There are times in life where you feel like you need some extra energy, some extra suffering going on, and death metal is great for that. You know, I used to work at an unnamed fast food establishment. Death metal always got me through shifts, to be completely honest with you. Like, it's great for when you need to push through the pain, you know? Fantastic record, old school death metal. One of their later albums, to be fair, 2009, Suffocation's kind of more of a 90s band, I think mid-90s, 96 area. Great guitar tone going on, great nonsense, various time signatures, very enjoyable, loved it. I spun the new Kendrick Lamar album a couple times. I don't necessarily think I took everything away from the lyrical content. I mean, there's a lot to digest in that album, but as usual, Kendrick kind of fuses the two different worlds of hip-hop and jazz almost seamlessly. You know, there's some beautiful stuff going on in this album. I really loved Purple Hearts. It's nice, funky, you know, kind of down low, laid back kind of beat. Very enjoyable, and at times it gets very emotionally intense, this album. There's a tune, the name of which escapes me, but the premise of the tune is basically a domestic argument between two people, and it's presented in such a way they're shouting at each other, they're saying words that I can't repeat here, if you get my drift. Yeah, very, very emotionally intense listen throughout, and man, it looks like Kendrick's been through some I don't really know the context of how the past few years have been for him, but evidence is in the album. It's been pretty rough for the guy. I listened to Seth MacFarlane's new album. You like jazz? 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 I also listened to Nancy Wilson and Cannonball Adderley. Cannonball, legendary alto player, absolute hero, one of the best kind of all-time great saxophone players, truly a legend, some phenomenal playing on the album through and through. And actually, this is my first time hearing Nancy Wilson in general, and her voice is so nice. It's very expressive, reminds me a little bit of Sarah Vaughan with some of the embellishments and decorations going on in the vocal. Kind of a very melancholy, sorrowful sound to the voice as well. The song that I'm hearing in my head now is The Masquerade is Over, and so is love. Very nice, beautiful album. Classic jazz, what more do you want? With singing too. Everybody Knows by Johnny Hodges was the next album on the list. Johnny Hodges, mostly known for being a saxophone player for Duke Ellington's orchestra, an alto player. He has this beautiful, almost singing-like tone and these beautiful bends, and I love Johnny Hodges a lot. Fantastic album. This is one of those records that kind of flew by. I mean, I popped it on, I was on the bus at the time, and it just kind of whizzed on. It was over before I even knew it. I enjoyed it. Yeah, great playing, some great composition going on, and very subtle. And such is the style for Hodges. He's a very subtle man. Very subtle man. I really liked his version of I Let a Song Go Out of My Heart, as well as A Flower Is a Lovesome Thing, towards the latter end of the album, but great stuff through and through. The next album was Puyo Puyo Sun, Saturn soundtrack. Now, if you're a regular of the channel, you may notice that I have a bit of history with Puyo Puyo. You could put it that way. However, I'd never actually listened to specifically the Saturn version of this soundtrack. Now, I own the game on both PS1 and Game Boy. Sorry about flexing, fucking hell. And I'm very familiar with both those soundtracks. But actually, some of the other versions, such as the arcade version, the Saturn version, and even the PC version, I'm not so familiar with. So I thought I'd check out the Saturn version, just to see what I was missing. There's a lot of very strong samba instrumentation going on in the album. You've got like a go-go bells going on, those whistles, you know, beep, 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 whatever those whistles are actually called. Professional breakdown there. Lots of percussion, you know, some guitar going on. Satan's theme in this song is basically this surf rock masterpiece. I love it, it's so fun. And of course it all fits the theme of the game, Puyo Puyo 3 or Puyo Puyo Sun. It's all about the sun. Satan makes the sun much stronger, so it's, you know, that kind of stuff's going on. So the fact that it has kind of a samba theme throughout, samba is associated with hot countries, you know, like Brazil, Portugal, Spain to an extent. And then there's also the surf rock element, which of course, you know, it's surf rock. Surely the association doesn't need explaining. Personally, I think it's quite a sign of a good soundtrack when the soundtrack meets the theme of the game and helps to create a bigger picture of the theme that the game is trying to create. In this case, it's a sunny beach, happy-go-lucky kind of thing, and the soundtrack, I think, suits that so well. So, what more can you ask for? Potentially a bit biased, though. I listened to Diz and Roy. Now, this was great. I'm kind of new to the playing of Roy Eldridge. I watched a video on YouTube where it's like a jam session. I think it's called After Hours with like Roy Eldridge, Coleman Hawkins, Cozy Cole, bunch of cats. They got this video crew in a pub and we're basically filming this jam session between all these legends, and it's fantastic. I highly recommend that video if anyone wants to watch it. Great energy throughout. Anyway, this video was my first introduction to Roy Eldridge's playing. I'm very familiar with Dizzy Gillespie, of course, absolute legend, you know, Charlie Parker's best mate, right-hand man, fantastic composer, fantastic trumpet player, legend, truly a legend. I feel like Roy's playing has a lot of energy to it. Like, he's not necessarily playing the most complicated lines ever, but he really projects his sound, and it's a very, like, biting sound. Like, it really cuts through the whole mix and is right here in your face. Like, this is what I'm playing. You're gonna listen to it, enjoy it. And I did enjoy it, man. It was a great album. Sat on a train, listening to it. Granted, not the best listening environment. You know, I have open back headphones, so a lot of the noise from the train was coming into my ears, but still enjoyed it regardless of distractions. So I listened to the new King Gizzard record as well, Omnium Gatherum. So I listened to the new King Gizzard record as well, Omnium Gatherum. This was great. I feel like King Gizzard are continuously pushing themselves in a new direction all the time. Like, you feel like, you know, you listen to KGLW and you think, okay, microtones, odd time signatures, crazy scales, and all this kind of stuff going on. Where can they go from here? Hip-hop. That's where they can go from here. Sadie Sorceress is a tune that is just literally, it's a hip-hop tune, straight up. There's one lyric, I think it's smoking greenies and drinking tinnies. That's fucking great. Whoever came up with that, fantastic. I love it. I love it so much. This whole album's great. Once again, listen to it on a bus. I do a lot of bussing. I do be bussing sometimes. Yeah, I really recommend it. This one, actually, to me, it felt like a very seamless musical experience, like from start to finish. It doesn't necessarily feel like one track ends and the next begins, but the music changes and takes you to a different place, which happens to be a different track. I feel like King Gizzard has this in mind whenever they create albums. Because I listened to, let me think, like Quarters. That album is also very seamless. And Tales of New Brunswick, also a very seamless album. Like, you listen to the transitions between tracks, it's beautiful. It's one consistent musical experience from start to finish. And this album's no different. Now, if I had to use one word to describe this album, it would definitely be woo!
The reason I did that is because he does it 50 times in the album.
So this concludes the list for me. That was quite painless, wasn't it? Hopefully. Quite a short one, as I mentioned. I only started on the 18th, actually compiling the albums for this month. There's your lot. Hope you enjoyed it. Hopefully I'll be back next month for another full album Fridays and show you what I've been spinning once again. Until next time, this has been Al. See you later. Bye.